Welcome back to this week's Journal Star Sportswriters podcast. I'm sports editor Wes Huett with Prep Scoops guys Adam Duvall.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Back. We're deep in postseason play for the girls and boys, just getting underway this week. Already have some good games there. We'll start with the boys. We just got started, but a couple regional surprises so far, John?
There was. We'll start over in 2A at Tremont. That was a really good game between Quest and DMAC, and Quest clipped them. Actually, Isaiah Brown had they were down 35-34, and Isaiah Brown had a putback at the buzzer to give them the win. Dustin Brooks said they put .5 back on the clock, and Brimfield tried like a inbounds pass full court, and it got deflected, and Quest hung on. But yeah, they were down 6 in that game in the fourth. I guess DQ Gilbert hit a couple threes to bring them back in. They had a lead at halftime. I think they're up 17-10 at half. So yeah, this Quest team, they are really clicking at the right time. In the last week and a half now, they have beaten. So to close out the regular season, they beat St. Joseph Ogden, who got a 1 seed in 2A, and then another 1 seed in 2A, El Paso Gridley.
Right.
And they beat both those teams. Isaiah Brown's just been really impressive on the boards for me. He had a lot of putbacks in that game I saw against El Paso, and DQ Gilbert, Adrian Hinton, just a lot of good seniors over there. So that's a team that's going to be tough to stop here in that region.
Well, Quest is interesting because they seem to play a lot of larger schools throughout the regular season.
They'll pretty much play anybody, I think.
Yeah.
They still have that feel of sort of like they don't really have a conference, so just filling their schedules with the Dunlaps and the East Peorias, and I don't know if they play East Peoria, but those types of teams where there's take on all comers, like Duvall said.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, Brooks did a really good job, beefing that schedule up, like I said earlier in the year. But yeah, they had, Notre Dame's been state ranked pretty much all year, and they had them on the ropes in the fourth quarter.
Right.
They played teams like Dunlap, Washington. So I think. And that shows late in the season now that playing teams like that definitely.
Yeah, I don't think it's just that coach either. Previous coach Jenkins had a nice
Jenkins did
schedule too.
So, he did a great job. And I think I mentioned it on an earlier podcast that he wanted to play all the city schools if they would sign up. And I think Notre Dame has been really the only one that's
that's interesting. I just thought of this. I'm surprised we don't see more teams like some of the upper level, the DMACs of the world, the Tremonts, who are among our best small schools, just reaching out occasionally to why not try to play with Richwoods, Emmanuel. I don't really see why you have to necessarily stay with your you get in the postseason no matter what in hoops. So it's just
yeah.
I mean, getting the top seed helps. Maybe you get a bye or whatever. But I would rather be 18-10 with a tough schedule than a 26-25-5 or something with cupcakes.
I'd even think it'd be cool, like looking into next year and years down the road, it'd be cool to schedule something like that in like the Carl Sandburg shootout that I went to. You get one really good big against a small, maybe 2 state-ranked teams going at it. That'd pull in a lot of fans. That'd be cool idea.
Journal Star shootout. We'll just start.
Let's do it.
Hosting something. We'll get a gym and just start.
Renaissance.
There you go.
Renaissance had a good game last night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good game last. So we'll get back to a little bit of the.
That's a segue, folks. That's a nice.
But last night so East Peoria has been in 3 overtime games in our last 3, and this was one of them. So Richwoods
triple overtime.
Yeah. So Richwoods beat East Peoria 74-72 in triple overtime at Renaissance Coliseum. So
was that just a game that they wanted to play at Renaissance?
Just a game that was at Renaissance. No other games were there. And so Connor Martin for Richwoods had a layup with .9 left to lift the Knights to a win. So that was big. I guess he got fouled on a layup, then intentionally missed the free throw. So EP had a chance and then missed a desperation shot at the buzzer. So I mean that was a really cool game. Looked like Jalen Parker had 27 for East Peoria, and then Khalil Danich had 25 for Richwoods, and Cortez Mosley added 24. So yeah, that was a back and forth ball game. So that would have been a fun one to be at.
Excellent. All right, well let's slide over to the girls. We got lots of got one team headed to the state tournament and a couple teams headed for the game.
The game, yeah. We'll talk about the game in a minute, but Lewistown, they broke through on Monday night, and now they'll be playing in the state finals, 1 o'clock
1 versus 2, right?
Yep, Danville Schlarman, reigning state champ. They have Anaya Peebles, McDonald's All-American, going to Notre Dame.
Wow.
On the team. I listened to the call. The IHSA does a call with a statewide call with the media and talking to TV people. And Greg Bennett, he's a character.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
he was coach when I was on the beat. That was 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Lord.
Yeah. So I called him on Saturday, and he was up in Chicago at the right before the Elton John concert. He took his daughter to see Elton John. But anyway, so he was saying on the call, and this will be key for Lewistown, is they don't have much size.
Right.
And that will be key for them because against Illini Bluffs, the second time they played them, it was a close game, and Illini Bluffs doesn't start anyone under 5'10".
Right.
So but Anna Heffron, she can score and score and score, averaging 18 a game. Sydney Schaefer, Bennett said on the call, she decides when she wants to score or not. I saw her score 36 against Brimfield.
Right.
She's averaging 13 a game. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see the style that Lewistown plays, which is full court press in your face, against Danville Schlarman team, which I have not seen this year, but I saw this team that came to the Manual tournament 3 years ago when they were freshmen, and they started four of their 5 starters were freshmen at that time, and 4 of their 5 starters now are seniors coming off a state title, and that was an impressive group then. They finished 3rd at that Manual tournament, but they're a team that it's talent. It's a lot of talent.
Who's the other matchup there in that 1A? Who else is there?
It's Shiloh and Lanark Eastland. Shiloh Co-op, Tri-City Co-op is what they call it. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, what we expected to happen over at Chillicothe.
Yeah. Last night. Yeah. It was a sweep. Richwoods versus Morton. We'll get part 3. To recap, in case you didn't remember, at the Morton Thanksgiving tournament, Richwoods beat them 64-61 in double overtime. Right. 3rd place game, the State Farm Classic on December 29th. Morton won 43-42 on 2 late free throws by Katie Krupa. And then, tomorrow night is for, I would say, the winner of that game will be the overwhelming favorite to win the state title. I mean, they're the last 4 state champs. Richwoods won last year, and then Morton the 3 before that. I think one of the keys to the game will be Morton's depth. Within 30 seconds last night, Maddie Becker, their starting junior guard, went down holding her knee. Haven't heard anything, but she didn't play at all.
Right.
She's one of their better 3-point shooters. Lindsay Dullard, she's probably their best 3-point shooter. Tinley Dow, obviously. Katie Krupa, freshman.
Taking nothing away from Canton, though.
Right.
I mean, they probably felt like they could handle that team. They played them twice before.
Yeah, absolutely. Beat them twice. Beat them by 42 and 30.
Right. So the situation, had it been a closer game, who knows, she might have played.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. But.
Yeah, and then Richwoods, they had 4 girls in double figures: 17, 16, 15, and 14.
Yeah, that's an interesting team in that regard.
Yeah.
You never really know who to stop.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so balanced, and like Cameron Taylor had 16 points, 7 for 8 from the field. I mean, that's just a lot of those offensive putbacks.
I give Todd Hersey, the coach of Richwoods, credit for his comments in your story heading into the sectional. There aren't a lot of coaches who will admit that they might be looking ahead to a game.
Yeah.
So I give him credit for that, for not dodging the question and giving the sort of – because we sometimes us journalists sometimes give coaches crap for just saying cliche stuff all the time.
Right.
So when they don't, we need to give them little
absolutely. Absolutely. It took me off guard. I was like, oh, okay. But, I mean, he did follow up. We do take it one game at a time.
Well, sure. But that's the honest approach. There's no way that any coach doesn't think about, actually, you're not doing your job if you don't think down the road. Because, I mean, to use a football analogy, I mean, playoff games roll around. You're not telling me Washington and Richwoods and Metamora, our top programs, don't have a crew at the next game at the opposite matchup scouting. Why? Because they think they're going to win, and they're scouting their next opponent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everybody has to be thinking ahead. That's just the matter of the sport.
I put it in my story. I tweeted it out. I'll say it here. Doors open tomorrow at 5:45. Yes. Tickets are $5. IBC's gym capacity is 1,900, but that doesn't include standing room only. And I will give site host Dan Camp and his staff over at IBC credit for last night. 30 minutes after the Richwoods game, and then for 30 minutes after the Morton game, they actually pre-sold tickets.
Oh, cool.
For the sectional final. So that'll kind of alleviate some of that lines and, a lot of people, doors open at 5:45. I have to be standing in line at 5:30, if I want to get in. I know last year at Dunlap was a sellout, and so but I recommend getting there early. I'm not sure how many tickets have been sold last night, or there was no mention of them today, but
go early and have yourself a nice early dinner and beautiful chill coffee.
Yes, absolutely.
I remember going to that game at Dunlap and got there plenty of time and still had a stand. So you want to definitely make sure you get there early for that game for sure.
All right, John, heading over. Anything you want to go over with the state ranks yesterday? Or I think the final state ranks came out, right?
Yeah. So
boys.
The final state ranks for the 1A, 2A, and we haven't really had anyone in 2A. DMAC got in there early in the year and kind of bounced out. So we've just been focusing on the 1A, and it looks like these were the polls. So Kewanee Weathersfield ended in that 2 spot. They moved up from 3. So that was big for them. They're 26-2, and they're going to be playing their first playoff game tonight. And then Elmwood finished tied for 9th. They'll also be playing their first game tonight, and they were 24-2. So good closeout for those 2 groups. And then in the 3A, we still got 2 more weeks of that, but Notre Dame still sitting in that 5 spot at. They're 21-5 now after. And
they got to go all the way to Macomb for a regional.
Got to go to Macomb. They got the 1 seat up there, and then they're going to wait the winner of Macomb and Washington. So you also got Morton and Richwoods and Canton over in that regional. So
that's a tough regional for multiple reasons. Tough. Those semis could be Notre Dame, Morton, or Notre Dame, Washington, and Morton Richwoods having to drive 2 hours, hour and a half west or whatever to get to Macomb.
Yep, absolutely. Wow. I've seen. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I saw Notre Dame and Richwoods play twice. They split 1-1, and then I've seen Richwoods and Morton play, and Richwoods got the best of them in that game. So there's a couple teams have seen each other there. Could go either way. So
definitely.
Yeah, that East Peoria regional with Metamora and Manuel. I mean, a few years ago, that was a sectional semi.
For sure. Definitely. Yeah, the way the sectional split up, all of our teams are basically sort of all compacted into 2 regionals, one at East Peoria and one at Macomb, and kind of almost sets up little mini Peoria sectionals, as it were. All right, well, look ahead a little bit. Speaking of the boys, some big semifinals tonight between some Metro teams.
There is. So I'll be at Peoria Heights. They class 1A regional semi over there. Peoria Christian, the 6th seed in that, is going to be taking on Brimfield, the 3rd seed. It's actually the second meeting between the 2. Peoria Christian beat them at home 64-55. That was early in January. So it'll be a big game. The key for Peoria Christian probably. Try to contain Reese Tubal. They got him in foul trouble in the first time they met. In the 4th quarter, he ended up fouling out. Worked the ball inside to Will Pepper. Daniel Duncan's been playing really well. Gabe Meister. So they got some guys. And then, the guard play with Brimfield, though, Ashton Johnson. They got Brett Novak down low. So there's a lot of different factors for them. But I think it'll be a good game, I think. So I'm looking forward to that one tonight. And then the winner of that game will play Illini Bluffs, who I'll touch on here real quick.
Yeah.
They came into that as a 7th seed, and they're 11 and 15, but obviously throw records out the door. We've kind of seen IB up and down all year.
Yeah.
And like I said, when Cam Scott's on, he's on.
Scored 40, didn't he last night?
Scored 40 last night in an upset over Delavan, the 2 seed.
Right.
The night before they beat host Heights, he dropped 32.
Wow.
So 72 points in 2 games. If he's going, look out for Illini Bluffs. They can be tough. So.
Can we just rewind a little bit? And for those of you listeners who had Joko mentioning PCS on podcast bingo, go ahead and mark that square.
Yeah.
Well, we had IBC.
Oh, yeah.
I think I said East Peoria, too.
Yeah.
We can't stop ourselves.
I know.
Bingo.
So, if I can remember correctly, I think I've only missed one podcast with that.
Okay.
So, all right. Yeah, trying to keep the streak alive. But, the other regional semi tonight, another good game between 2 teams that have met before this year. In the Tremont regional, that Class 2A we just talked about with Quest. Quest is going to be awaiting the winner of this Tremont and Farmington semifinal game tonight.
I know.
Farmington lost 68-64 in November when the 2 teams met, so this is going to be a really, really good game between these 2. It could go either way, and it's kind of hard to say. If Tremont's hitting threes, they can be dangerous. Farmington's getting inside with DePriest, and Rutledge is hitting, so it's kind of hard to say which team. But
right.
both are stepping up at the right time too. So I think that's going to be a good game, and then both of these regional titles between Heights and Tremont are going to be really good games. So.
I want to give a little nod. I think that the IHSA has really landed on a nice balance between regionality and separating the top teams. Mm-hmm. Like this whole subsectional seed thing, and then making sure that they split the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds throughout, through 8 as well, I believe. Mm-hmm. Top 8 seeds in each sectional. This really feels like we're getting a lot of really cool regional matchups, yet it doesn't feel like great teams are necessarily playing too early either. I mean, I don't know. It feels like when you get to a sectional now, you truly are starting to branch out and play more of the state, as opposed to, especially at the small school level. I don't remember this many sort of pure tri-county schools playing each other at this point in the season. They always feel like they're more spread out disparately around each regional, and this just feels more compacted and more sort of a true regional champions as opposed to just sort of, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at just this 1 year as a.
Now has it been at least 10, 12, maybe even 15 years since it was straight sectional seeding?
Oh, it's been longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, and Joko, I don't know if you know this, they used to take the sectional and seed it 1 through, if there was 20 teams, 1 through 20, and the top 4 teams who got the top 4 seeds were regional hosts.
Right.
And then they just filled it out. So one would play.
Yeah, back at the field house when the Peoria sectional, the way it used to be. Yeah, the top. I remember seeing some of the games that stick in my head as a youth were seeing the manual teams from the 90s take on a 17-seeded Canton team and just beating them by 60, because the matchup was just outrageous because they're just playing in this regional semifinal at Manual, and these teams having no chance of beating them. So I actually think that it lends itself to more competitive games, but also it's a nice little hybrid of getting the best teams, or giving the best teams their best shot at getting to the sectional, while at the same time maintaining some of this regionality and not having. The whole Macomb thing aside, but there's not much you can do there with the Macomb thing.
But and kind of on the opposite end of that Tremont regional is loaded. Quest and DMAC. And Tremont and Farmington, I don't know who the playing games were.
Yeah, the Midwest Central played Quest, and then
Midwest
Havana.
Central.
Let me touch on that real quick. We got a comment from Michelle Miller. DePriest is out of this game, it looks like. I think he was also out for the Heights game when I talked about that on a podcast. So that's going to change some things here. Tremont can get the ball inside a little better. It's going to be tough for Farmington without their big now. So Farmington kind of has to turn to more perimeter shooting and threes.
Do you know Michelle Joko? I don't know.
But I have known that
Vet your source.
I have known that DePriest has been out, so I didn't see him in the box the other night. So, that's kind of a game changer right there.
Yeah.
So, thank you for the comment.
All right. Anything else we need to go over with the girls for this upcoming weekend? Or
you know what? I would say in 2A. Dorothy Gators from Chicago Marshall. They're back again. They're the reigning state champs.
Crazy.
I voted them, I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit. I voted them number 1, and it just seemed like they fell in that 4 to 6 range pretty much every week. And it's like,
did you see some of those regional scores?
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, you're coming into the postseason playing Whitney Young and Simeon and all those public league schools, and I'm not taking anything away from any of those other schools, but that is a proven program with Division I prospects from freshman to senior year, and Dorothy Gators, who's making I think her 22nd appearance. They're going for their third time in program history going back to back.
Wow.
So that's something to keep an eye on.
They won their regional. I want to say 184 to 21. Their 2 combined scores, and then the sectionals were the sectional semi was like 30. Yeah, they haven't been touched.
And so since the 4-class system, which was 2007, 2008, they petitioned up for like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 years, or I think it's a round number. You have to do it 2 years, so like 8 years, we'll say, between 6 and 8 years. And so they were playing in 3A. So there was that whole stretch, if you look in Dorothy Gators' record, where they weren't even playing in the similar size class. And,
wow.
And so I would just keep an eye out for that. I think Lewistown, Danville, Schlarman. That's going to be a good game on Friday afternoon. 1 versus 2.
Yeah, and that Midwest Central would have matched up against Marshall had they gotten through.
Correct.
But now the Hillsborough group's going to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, we're going to wrap up this week with one more. We're going to put our feet to the fire here and make us pick the game. We'll leave Adam for last since he actually knows about this. Okay. So Joko and I will be dumb and make our ignorant selections.
Okay.
Joko, go ahead.
The game?
The game. We know. Okay. I don't even have to say what it is, do I?
No. I'm going to say... Ooh, that's tough. I like Richwoods.
Richwoods?
Yeah.
I like their depth too.
I like that because if you said Maddie Becker, that could change some things. Richwoods in a close one, maybe an overtime game. Honestly,
triple overtime?
Not triple, but just single overtime. Yeah.
I like Richwoods. I like their depth. I like. I think for some reason, even though they're the defending state champions, they feel like they have this chip on their shoulder. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that. It's really hard. It's really tough needle to thread to be the reigning state champion and still feel like you're being disrespected. And not by you necessarily, Duvall, but I'm saying in general. I think that's a sign of a good coach. Necessarily, sort of always keep your kids off balance, and I think they're competing with each other almost. It's like we all want to be the best, and you really don't know who to stop there. So I like Richwoods.
You asked me, I think. Maybe it was our first or second podcast that we did this, one of those this or that. Right. You said Morton or Richwoods.
I know.
And I'm going to have to go Richwoods as well.
All right.
I mean, I like their experience and their depth. And I think in this game, Nia Williams will be the X factor.
All right.
5'7", 5'8" guard. She can shoot the lights out. Tough defense. That matchup defense that they play is tough. But I'm looking for a great game.
Yeah.
So if anybody from the Morton girls program is listening, you can use this as a little locker room fodder and say you guys are being disrespected because those idiots at the Journal Star don't know what the hell they're talking about. So
you morons.
All right, that's going to wrap it up this week. Make sure you visit pjstar.com/preps for all the latest. Follow us on Twitter at PJStar Sports. You can follow these guys on Twitter too at Adam Duvall and at JKOM91.
Yep.
All right. Yep. Make sure you use the hashtag PJSPreps for the latest in high school sports news. For Adam Duvall and John Komosa, I'm Wes Huett saying bye for now.